Hello, today we have Chapter 4, The Illusions of the Ego, Section 6, The Rewards of God. The ego does not recognize the real source of threat, and if you associate yourself with the ego, you do not understand the situation as it is. Only your allegiance to it gives the ego any power over you. I just want to stop and observe there. Only your allegiance to it gives the ego any power over you. So when I feel disquiet, my loyalty is to the ego, something that doesn't exist. And that's unnecessary. It helps to stop and see that. Only your allegiance to it gives the ego any power over you. I have spoken of the ego as if it were a separate thing, acting on its own. This was necessary to persuade you that you cannot dismiss it lightly and must realize how much of your thinking is ego-directed. We cannot safely let it go at that, however, or you will regard yourself as necessarily conflicted as long as you are here, or as long as you believe that you are here. The ego is nothing more than a part of your belief about yourself. Your other life has continued without interruption and has been and always will be totally unaffected by your attempts to dissociate it. So that's our life prior to time and space. And that life is completely unaffected by our experience and what seems to be here. In learning to escape from illusions, your debt to your brother is something you must never forget. It is the same debt that you owe to me. Whenever you act egotistically toward another, you are throwing away the graciousness of your indebtedness and the holy perception it would produce. The term holy can be used here because as you learn how much you are indebted to the whole sonship, which includes me, you come as close to knowledge as perception can. The gap is then so small that knowledge can easily flow across it and obliterate it forever. So I feel this more and more when I act from ego, how truly awful it is, and it just makes it more clear to me. This is not the way. So I feel less tempted to go that way by having the experience of speaking and acting from ego and feeling how awful it feels. It seems to help the next time there's a temptation to no, don't go that way. That way's painful. The indebtedness to our brothers, to our divine siblings, to Jesus, is our connectedness. What do we owe? If you have a debt, you owe it. What do we owe everyone? Gratitude. So indebtedness is sinking into our gratitude, the awareness of how much we love everybody, and that there's no need to struggle against them. There's no need to correct them. There's no need to contradict them. There's every need to be with them, love them, appreciate them, find our gratitude. And when I'm listening to ego, this is more of a challenge. So every day I learn more and more how it's not in my best interest to listen to ego. Then I'm better able to sink into that gratitude and to be there with it. Okay. You have very little trust in me as yet, but it will increase as you turn more and more often to me instead of to your ego for guidance. So there are those two places. We can turn to Jesus or to Spirit, whatever term feels more comfortable for you, or to your essential self, your whole and true self, or we can turn to ego, just the two. The results will convince you increasingly that this choice is the only sane one you can make. No one who learns from experience that one choice brings peace and joy, while another brings chaos and disaster needs additional convincing. Learning through rewards is more effective than learning through pain, because pain is an ego illusion and can never induce more than a temporary effect. The rewards of God, however, are immediately recognized as eternal. Since this recognition is made by you and not the ego, the recognition itself establishes that you and your ego cannot be identical. So when we're recognizing, we can feel it in our heart opening. But the rewards of God are eternal, that what is ours is eternal and untouched and pure, and that there's something truly here for us that transcends time and space, that's beyond it, that's prior to it. That's you in touch with your real self. That's me in touch with our real self in that moment. That's not something ego would ever want to try to touch. Okay. You may believe that you have already accepted this difference, but you are by no means convinced as yet. The fact that you believe you must escape from the ego shows this, but you cannot escape from the ego by humbling it, or controlling it, or punishing it. The ego and the spirit do not know each other. The separated mind cannot maintain the separation except by dissociating. Having done this, it denies all truly natural impulses, not because the ego is a separate thing, but because you want to believe that you are. The ego is a device for maintaining this belief, but it is still only your decision to use the device that enables it to endure. It is still only your decision to use the device that enables it to endure. So ego could not even be part of our experience, my experience, unless I'm deciding to use it like a tool. Okay. How can you teach someone the value of something he has deliberately thrown away? He must have thrown it away because he did not value it. You can only show him how miserable he is without it, and slowly bring it nearer so he can learn how his misery lessens as he approaches it. This teaches him to associate his misery with its absence, and the opposite of misery with its presence. It gradually becomes desirable as he changes his mind about its worth. I am teaching you to associate misery with the ego and joy with the spirit. You have taught yourself the opposite. You are still free to choose, but can you really want the rewards of the ego in the presence of the rewards of God? My trust in you is greater than yours in me at the moment, but it will not always be that way. Your mission is very simple. You are asked to live so as to demonstrate that you are not an ego, and I do not choose God's channels wrongly. Isn't that reassuring? I do not choose God's channels wrongly. The Holy One shares my trust and accepts my atonement decisions because my will is never out of accord with His. I have said before that I am in charge of the atonement. This is only because I completed my part in it as a man and can now complete it through others. My chosen channels cannot fail because I will lend them my strength as long as theirs is wanting. I will go with you to the Holy One, and through my perception he can bridge the little gap. Your gratitude to your brother is the only gift I want. That's beautiful. That's important. Your gratitude to your brother is the only gift I want. There are many times every day when I'm not in this setting and I can remember and learn to relax into it. Your gratitude to your brother is the only gift I want. I will bring it to God for you, knowing that to know your brother is to know God. If you are grateful to your brother, you are grateful to God for what He created. Through your gratitude, you come to know your brother, and one moment of real recognition makes everyone your brother, because each of them is of your Father. Love does not conquer all things, but it does set all things right. Because you are the kingdom of God, I can lead you back to your own creations. You do not recognize them now, but what has been dissociated is still there. As you come closer to a brother, you approach me. Okay, let's try that again. As you come closer to a brother, you approach me, and as you withdraw from him, I become distant to you. Has this ever become clear to me? Wow, every new phase of learning, it feels like, oh my goodness, I had no idea I was doing this. I had no idea that I was doing this. And what's become really clear to me lately is my habitual defense is withdrawal. And now I can see how damaging and awful it is withdrawing in thought from my divine siblings. Wow. All I can say is it's become really clear to me, and now I'm highly motivated to notice when I've withdrawn and to ask for help and relaxing out of that. Okay. Salvation is a collaborative venture. It cannot be undertaken successfully by those who disengage themselves from the sonship, because they are disengaging themselves from me. God will come to you only as you will give him to your brothers. Learn first of them, and you will be ready to hear God. That is because the function of love is one. And that really stands out for me. Learn first of them, and you will be ready to hear God. How I feel when I think of you or anyone else, what I'm thinking when you come to mind or when I'm with you or anyone else. That's so important. Is there purity there? Is there peace there? Is there calm there? Is there appreciation there? Is there gratitude there? Is there anything other than that there? For me, there often is. There's some sort of conflict or judgment or I don't know, like skitter-scattering mind going every which way. Lots of things present on top of what is our true nature. And I know from experience, I can relax out of that. So that's where my focus is. Learn first of them, and you will be ready to hear God. That is because the function of love is one. Okay. Thank you.